Dash 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 dash. Evil Taylor Creepypasta. There was once a trombone section. I should know. I was a part of it. We played a lot of songs about a lot of things in the Northern Michigan University trombone section. My name is Cameron, and this is the story of Evil Taylor. But enough about me. This isn't about me. I'm hardly a relevant detail in the makings of the chaotic monster that is Evil Taylor. No, this goes back 2 years ago when Taylor was in the Northern Michigan University trombone section for the first time. Chapter 1. The beginning of the effervescent corruption of Taylor. Taylor was once a freshman in the Northern Michigan University trombone section. They was also a freshman while I was still in high school. I was not aware of Taylor until after he had already taken a turn for the worse. If you catch my drift. He was by all accounts a normal guy with normal interests and a normal drive to play trombone for the Northern Michigan University trombone section. He loved trombone so much he made it his whole life until that one night. There was an issue. There was only the issue of the knife. Rumor has it that during a particularly bad dome rehearsal, we have the largest wooden dome in the world, by the way, Taylor was talking with Autumn, one of Griffin's and Adam's friends from before Taylor was evil, about a strange he found in the turf of the dome. He held it up to her, and she recoiled in shock and fear, blue eyes shading over green with fear. It was a knife. A fucking knife. Taylor said he'd found it in the turf, and then said,
Autumn, what's wrong? It's just a knife.
And Autumn replied, No, Taylor. You don't understand. That's not just a knife, that's a fucking knife. Please be careful what you do, no matter what. Taylor paid Autumn's warning no, they, and went about the dome practice. It was a dark and stormy night, by the way, that night. All went according to plan. The people watching it happen were satisfied. I wish I knew what I was getting myself into when I, Cameron, signed up for the Northern Michigan University trombone section. Anyways, enough about the mech to Taylor. Taylor took the fucking knife back home to the dorm where he lived. Rumor has it he stabbed his roommate 678.9 times in the chest before the roommate died after pleading with Taylor loudly. Why Taylor did that, the world will never know. What we do now is the RA of Taylor's floor went to investigate, but found nothing suspicious. Taylor just at the door, holding the fucking knife just out of sight. He logged off the RA's questions even when the RA asked,
Taylor, what happened? Are you okay? What's going on?
Taylor just laughed and started to cry. The tears were blood, but the RA didn't say anything. She was just too sad about Taylor's roommate dying mysteriously via asphyxiation. As Taylor closed the door and the tears kept coming out, he went to the bathroom to look.
I like the look of that.
He said as the blood tears formed the shape of clown makeup. Beside him, the fucking knife dripped blood onto the floor. Taylor left that night. Marching season was over for the season. When the next year arrived and I arrived, Taylor was nowhere to be found. No one suspected him of what he had done to the roommate, killing him by burning him to death. Not even Griffin, the section leader. Only Griffin wasn't the section leader yet, there was still Eric and Aubrey. The second year doesn't matter much because Evil Taylor was still on the run because the police were hot on the trail for killing his roommate by drowning him in the Lake Inferior, the evil version of Lake Superior. The second year was imperative to Evil Taylor's development because he got the thirst for killing people with the fucking knife at the time. I stand on the practice field on the second year a lot, practicing my trombone and marching as I wanted to get better at my trombone. Taylor was getting better too, but with the fucking knife. There was a truck stop one night. Taylor killed 15 prostitutes. I only hear about it after it happens when he sent a photograph of himself to the trombone group chat Eric fan club. I was added to it because I was the only new member and I needed to be looped in about what was happening and going on within the effulgent bastion of hope that was the Northern Michigan University trombone section group chat. Please add only one bed trope, thanks. Only Taylor sent the photograph of him in the gas station bathroom after he had killed those 16 prostitutes at the truck stop. The eyes were bleeding, and the teeth were really big, and the fucking knife was on full display. It was hyper-realistic and gory and scary, and I could tell he was going to do more. Only I can't do anything about it. The blood was hyper-realistic. He was looking right at the camera, and I don't know who took the photograph, but they probably died too. That year was one of the worst of my life. College was awesome, but Taylor kept threatening to kill everyone in the group chat. There's the photo of Evil Taylor becoming evil. He had a cool hoodie on because it was getting kinda cold out and getting close to October, but he kept the knife in the hottie and it reminded him of the dead brother who was killed by a knife stab wound to the heart. So he wore the hoodie to keep the dark thoughts inside, but as you can see in the photo, they were leaking out hyper-realistically. Evil Taylor looking in mirror. Chapter 2. The all-consuming blood-fueled super frenzy of Evil Taylor and the hyper-realistic megadeath and ultra-destruction of the Northern Michigan University trombone section and the Superior Dome. Where was I? Oh yeah. The third year came around. Modern day. I know what happens now. It was really scary. There were 5 new rookies for the Northern Michigan University trombone section. A good number, by all accounts, because we lost Eric, Aubrey, Naomi, Simon Donahue Brown, and Sam Gaucher, and probably a couple others that I can't remember. But Evil Taylor killed them all. I know this because on the first day of band camp, we showed up at the practice field and their hyper-realistic heads were impaled on the scaffolding. The band director, Dr. Stephen Riley, stands on to watch the marching band march in the Northern Michigan University trombone section march. I thought, okay, the severed heads of those that came before us, and paid it no mind because it's band camp and everything happens at band camp happens for a reason. Then I saw Taylor walking up and he was smiling so wide I thought the teeth would start biting me in the neck. He didn't though, he just smiled and waved and said,
Hi, I'm Taylor. I used to play trombone for the Northern Michigan University trombone section. Last year, I got busy because I'm a stupid fucking STEM major and can't balance my stupid fucking time properly.
I said back, hi, I'm Cameron. I'm also a stupid fucking STEM major and can't balance my stupid fucking time properly. But I'm here and so are you, so maybe we're figuring some small detail of our lives out together. Taylor said,
Yeah, we're both stupid fucking STEM majors. That's cool. What do you do?
I say, I do stupid fucking forensic biochemistry because I'm a stupid fucking STEM major. Taylor ignore me though and want to go say hi to Victoria and Audrey, he friends. Cameron, I'm taking a break to fold laundry. Hope you don't mind. Sigh, fine, I guess. Check the comment at the top. Glad we have a system sorted out. There was a normal amount of practice that happened at the first practice, except for the people that freaked out about the severed heads of those that came before us. I lined up because Griffin, who was the section leader, and not Aubrey and Eric, said so, and I found out I was standing right next to Evil Taylor. He had the hood up, and I wondered why, so I asked why, and he said
It's too bright out. I'm gonna blow up the fucking sun so the world can forever be dark and I can thrive in my hellish paradise of super death.
I thought that was kind of creepy, but again, I did nothing about it. Griffin was upset that Taylor came back, but Adam was happy. So were Audrey and Victoria. Griffin seemed to be the only one who didn't trust anything that stupid fucking STEM major said or did. Looking back, I should have agreed with Griffin and switched my major to English. Too bad I'm dead now. Now he's dead too. Griffing. The playing began, and I started playing the song Gourd the first time, and the second time because it was my second year at the Northern Michigan University trombone section. As we were playing, I saw Davis was playing next to Taylor, and as they were playing, Davis was getting red while he was playing. The was playing louder and louder, and the skin was all red. I thought to myself, man, Davis is really red. And next to me, Griffin said,
Say that again.
Red Davis. But that's a story for another time. To summarize, Taylor was killing Davis. He was stabbing him secretly with the fucking knife, which he could turn invisible with the powers. Davis could do nothing because G was too determined to the playing trombone in the Northern Michigan University trombone section. After we were done playing because the song ended, maximum strength warm-up, Davis fell to the ground bleeding from 326 stab wounds to the abdomen. The skin was all red and mottled from the hyper-realistic blood and the skin that was red from the playing. Taylor said,
Huh. Red Davis.
Red Davis. Red Davis. Everyone else was freaking out, but Taylor was just smiling and laughing. But that's a story for another time. I saw him and Griffin saw him, but none of the other trombones saw him. Griffin and I locked eyes hyper-realistically, and then we carried on with practice. When lunch hit, we met up, and Adam joined us too because we all rode together in the same car over here. Guys, I finished the Evil Taylor analysis worksheet. Taylor was all by himself eating lunch away from everyone. I thought he was crying, but he was laughing. Me and Griffithing clued Adam in on what was going on with Evil Taylor, and he seemed worried, and I agreed, and Griffin was also kind of worried, but not as much as I was. I felt a paranoid little worm of doubt wriggling around my mind and my brain as I watched Evil Taylor laughing at the food, and I wondered out loud, I wonder if he did Red Davis. At that instant moment in time, Evil Taylor stood up and looked over at me. He mouthed something that I couldn't make out, but Griffin, who is notorious for reading lips, said,
He just said Red Davis.
and I said back, it could be because of the powers. And Adam said,
Yeah, those are the powers. He probes your mind with the fucking powers. He did it to me too, even though I was thinking about nothing but books and literature because I'm a stupid fucking English major who can't do anything but analyze texts.
Griffin agreed and I agreed. We were both stupid fucking STEM majors. Taylor was still standing there watching us. Then he looked up and walked away. I stood up to follow. Griffin grabbed my shoulder and said,
No, don't. He wants you to follow him so he can kill you. I'll go instead.
I said, no, don't. And Griffin said,
I have to. It's the only way.
But before either of us could go, Audrey Harmon, Taylor's best friend, followed Evil Taylor out of the dining hall because they were best friends and wanted to hang out for a little bit before getting back to the practice field to practice trombone for the Northern Michigan University trombone section for the marching band at MMU. We watched her walk off, and Griffin said,
I'm the section leader. We need to make sure he isn't killed by Evil Taylor, or else I'll be fired from my position as section leader, and Davis...
and Adam said,
You mean Red Davis?
and Griffin got really fucking angry and nearly killed Adam and went,
Urgh! Yes, I mean, Red Davis is going to take my job. I am the sole section leader of the section of instruments.
You can see the pain in Griffin's heart about losing the job. Good depth. You can see the pain in Griffin did. But Red Davis is a story for another time. For now, it was time to talk about Evil Taylor and the ineffable truth of killing your friends for the macro bloodlust of slaughter kill. Chapter 3. Evil Taylor and the ineffable truth of killing your friends for the macro bloodlust of slaughter kill. Audrey was found dead a week later. Rumor has it she had been killed along with a lot of hyper-realistic blood. There was a large boomerang at the scene that had been used to be like Evil Taylor would say.
Hey, Audrey, look over there in the forest.
And Audrey didn't see anything, so she said,
I don't see anything.
and Taylor had already thrown the boomerang, and Audrey turned back around, and Taylor looked up at the boomerang flying over her head and coming back around, and Audrey got hit in the neck, and it took her head off, so she died. Evil Taylor said,
I'm sorry, my best friend. The macro bloodlust must be sated.
and Audrey died. Evil Taylor walked back to campus, and I lived in the dorm, so I saw him trudging back with a bunch of strange, suspicious stains covering the hoodie, which now seemed to be a right proper part of him in it. I was about to call the police to arrest Taylor when a knock came at my door. I opened it, and there stood YN. YN was my friend for X years. They were X years old studying insert major here at Northern Michigan University and playing insert preferred instrument here for the Northern Michigan University marching band. We had been friends for many years. I cared about YN because we had been friends for so long and had a very strong bond together. YN said,
Something you would say here.
and I said, yes, YN, I agree. Classes have been complete dog shit because I'm a stupid fucking STEM major. Then YN said,
Question you'd ask here.
And I responded with, oh, that guy out my window walking to the dorm building with a very bloody hoodie on and creepy smile and is gripping a fucking knife and has killed all of the members of our section that came before us, him? That's just Evil Taylor. I have suspicions that he's evil. He might be the one responsible for the roommate killing and the other killings, like Red Davis and Headless Audrey. You know, I heard she is now haunting a laptop and everyone's calling her Audrey.exe. But that's a story for another time. YN looked scared, but even worse, they looked intrigued.
Something you'd say about going to investigate Evil Taylor.
And I looked shocked and scared and replied, what? No, don't go investigate Evil Taylor. He has no roommate and there's only one bed. YN didn't care, though, and went to investigate. I followed cautiously behind. The dorm building was so gloomy, the lights were flickering, and there were bugs and creepy sounds everywhere. We looked, it was really unnerving and almost like the back rooms. 2021. The hyper-realistic blood on the walls almost looked like red paint at first, but at that point I was used to seeing blood. YN knocked on Evil Taylor's dorm room door, and then I saw YN walk into the Evil Taylor dorm room and said, no, YN, there's only one bed in there, and Evil Taylor lives there, don't go in there. But YM didn't listen and describe death that is suitable to you. And that was the story of my best friend YN and how they died because of the one-bed trope in Evil Taylor dorm room. Anyways, back to the important deaths. Audrey.exe had been killed by a boomerang, and I didn't know who was going to die next. Well, that was answered quickly, because not long after, maybe a week later, when band camp was over, and we were on to the actual practices for the football games for the Northern Michigan University's marching band, who's highlighting Red Davis's name. That's kind of eerie. And the practices and the tension was rising with the Northern Michigan University trombone section. I was watching the animated drill on Ultimate Drill Book Pro, the app we use to map out our drills for the marching portion of marching band, when Victoria asked me if I'd seen Audrey. I said no because she was dead, and Victoria seemed very perturbed at that and said,
I saw her body. Her head was chopped off. It looked like it was with a giant boomerang.
and I responded, yes, who do we know that has a giant boomerang? And then we both looked over at Owen Ritchie, who famously had many boomerangs that he brought to practice. We both thought Owen Ritchie was the killer of Audrey.exe and brought our suspicions to Griffin Grava, the angry section leader. It's Owen Ritchie.
Okay.
You must believe us.
I don't believe you.
Okay, and that was how the conversation went. All thoughts of Evil Taylor went out of my head in that moment. I knew it was Owen Ritchie and needed to prove it, and then Owen Ritchie showed up to practice and had the trombone with him. Evil Taylor was watching closely and knew my suspicions would not be confirmed because he planned to kill Owen Ritchie. We began the march of death. I was marching right next to Owen Ritchie, which was weird because he's a first trombone and I'm a second. I was marching and bumped into him, and he stepped back and bumped into Victoria, who fell backward and fell to the ground. We were all getting up from the ground and picking up our trombones for the Northern Michigan University trombone section when I noticed that Victoria's shoe had fallen off. They were out cold on the ground, and I picked up their shoe, but it was heavy with blood, and there was a foot attached to the shoe and the blood. It dripped to the ground eerily as I held up the shoe and tried to hand it back to Victoria. Their foot had fallen off, and at each joint their limbs had fallen apart. There was just blood and a lot of it pooling all around, and it was hyper-realistic and red in the sunshine. Then a cloud passed over, and I looked up. It was shaped like an Evil Taylor. Then the worst part happened. I watched as Victoria's head fell off from their body and rolled away, never to be seen again. But I looked and saw Victoria's face was haunted like a haunted Victoria. Like it was on a mind of its own. I looked at Owen Ritchie, and I knew it must have been him because I had suspected him all along. Did you do it? I said, and Owen said,
Do what?
And I just looked down at Victoria and said nothing else because I was too angry. I felt like Griffin Grava, and I knew that Griffin Grava would protect Owen Ritchie because they had gone to high school together. Everyone was not caring about Victoria except me and the other trombones, and it made me really angry. Practice ended and I went home. Thinking about it, I realized that it was actually Evil Taylor because of the cloud I saw. He must have done a bunch of cuts at Victoria when they didn't know, and then he wanted Owen to be framed. I rushed out of my dorm to the TFA Fine Arts building because I knew Owen Ritchie would be there because he's a music education major and has no free time whatsoever. Red Davis was a music major, but that's a story for another time. But as I got to the TFA Fine Arts building, I realized that Owen might already be dead. I needed to warn him about the death. The doors were unlocked was the first bad feeling I had when the scary feeling that the elevator might hold a clue hit me like a wave of nausea in the face specifically. The elevator was said to be haunted by what, I don't know, but what I do know is that Phantom Owen now haunts the elevator of TFA Fine Arts building because when I opened the elevator's doors, I saw the lifeless corpse all caught up in the elevator cables, dead as could be. It was too late. Evil Taylor had gotten to him. While I had been distracted with thinking Owen Ritchie was the killer, Evil Taylor had killed Victoria and Owen Ritchie. The blood slithered hyper-realistically from the cables onto the elevator, and I had to run away because I did not want to be killed. All the while, I felt Evil Taylor's eyes on my back laughing and saying,
I'm gonna fucking kill you, Cameron!
I said back, I'm gonna fucking kill you, Evil Taylor, if it's the last thing I do. So I went to sleep. The storm that had been brewing all day finally broke, and I awoke with the crack of thunder. I could tell he was in my room. Evil Taylor. I saw him in the iconic hoodie that was so cool and gripping the fucking knife.
You're next,
he said, lunging at me. In an instant, I leapt to my feet and sent my fist right into Evil Taylor's face. The punch went so hard I crushed the nose and punched right through his face, fist sticking out the other end of them head. I pulled my hand from the wound, not amazed in the slightest with my own strength. I ran away while Evil Taylor was just stunned. He got angry, but understood I was not to be trifled with. I am Cameron Snyder. I am not to be trifled with. I ran to Adam Schnell's apartment because he lives off campus and Evil Taylor doesn't know what off campus looks like. Adam harbored me for many days, keeping a close eye out. Griffin Grava joined us because apparently Evil Taylor had been stalking around outside the on-campus apartment, mumbling about some slaughter kill, but Griffin still didn't believe that Taylor could do it. He was shattered after Owen Ritchie died, the own protege. Griffin was making strange choices now, almost like he was morally ambiguous. He decided not to tell Braden Doran, one of the other rookies, about Evil Taylor's lurking, and when we were at band practice, the sun went out for a second, and next we saw that Doran was standing dead on the ground, jaw ripped off and hands pulled completely off. Blood was everywhere, and Evil Taylor was covered in blood, and he was just grinning. It was horrific, but I am not fazed. I am used to it. Evil Taylor said,
Man, there was a big shadow Doran. Huh. I like the ring of that. Shadow Doran.
Shadow Doran. Shadow Doran. Shadow Doran said nothing because the jaw was ripped off, but he ran away but didn't get far because we all watched Evil Taylor take out the fucking knife and fucking hamstring Shadow Doran with the fucking knife. It kept occurring to me that these people were Taylor's friends. He was killing the friends because he was evil now. My mind was conflicted as I thought about how effortlessly I'd punched through his face and how I had hurt my friend, and that Evil Taylor was my friend after all. Then Evil Taylor brought the fucking knife down on Doran's head and Doran died. So we had classes to go to in the morning, so I headed home to go to sleep. The following day was uneventful. Chapter 4, The Complete and Utter Shattering Annihilation of Griffin Grava's Moral W Code by Evil Taylor, thus turning him into Shattered Griffin, the famous morally gray character. The first football game, it sticks in my mind because Doran was late and Hunter was slightly late, but they have good reasons. For one, Doran was dead because of Evil Taylor and the fucking knife. The other is Hunter, and he has a good reason because a new evil character is about to make her appearance. Jack Svatora and Harper Jacobs were both rookies and had flown under the radar so far. They did their own thing a lot and tended to not get wrapped up in marching band politics and issues and problems for the Northern Michigan University band. That doesn't mean they weren't watching closely, though. With how popular Evil Taylor was becoming online, there were more than one copycat killers. Many people had fucking knives with them and would go around killing in Marquette, Michigan, where Northern Michigan University is located, and the Northern Michigan University Marching Band plays in the Superior Dome on the coast of Lake Superior that also connects to Canada and is the arch nemesis of Michigan Technical Institute. But there were a lot of copycat killers, and Harper wanted to protect herself from the copycat killers, so Shy got a fucking knife and began killing the copycat killers, but that wasn't good, because she was just contributing to the storm of hell and death in Macro Bloodlust, and Hutner was too, because he was a copycat killer. Evil Taylor knew of them and didn't like them, so he made sure to get rid of them, if you catch my drift. Harper had a reputation around. Now she was Harper the Killer. Hunter was out one day at band practice before that football game and was killing the band people that practiced there for the Northern Michigan University marching band. He thought it should be good because he's also a music major and needs less competition, so it was good for him. The fucking knife rent the life of a band member asunder, and he said,
"Yes, I am Hunter Man. I kill for fun and sport. I am actual Evil Taylor. Find my 8 pages of sheet music."
But he didn't know that Harper the Killer was there behind him up in the tree that the North Michigan University trombone section used to place all their stuff at before all the madness. I watched it all and was about ready to let Dr. Riley, the band director, know when all of a sudden Evil Taylor was behind me.
Cameron, it's time you're dead.
I vaulted over him and planted my shoe on his unprepared back and kicked him forward. His face skidded across the pavement and left a long, bloody, hyper-realistic streak across the pavement. He thought he could get the jump. Wrong. He forgot. I angrily cried out, "Hey, Evil Taylor, kill this!" And my anger bubbled over, for I am Golden Cameron. Put, like, some cheering in the actual video.
He said the thing. He said the thing.
At the same time, Harper the Killer pounced and Hunterman turned just in time to get a fucking knife to the eye.
"I'm gonna Harper the goddamn kill you, Hunterman. I am Harper the Killer,"
She said as the fucking knife was ripped out and a bloody shower a mile wide came out of Hunterman's eye. He ran but did not die and came back around with a fucking knife and the two began battle. I began a battle with Evil Taylor and we fought. Him with the fucking knife, me with nothing but my hands because of the powers. The band members were fleeing, but getting caught in the fight of the ages because they could do nothing but run. Griffin watched on sadly, knowing this was the end of the Northern Michigan University trombone section. Adam stood by, shaking his head in disappointment because he's a stupid fucking English major and could only see the symbolism of killing a friend. Unknown to everyone, Jack was in the tree also watching, but making sure he was out of sight by hiding in the tree that the Northern Michigan University put all their stuff under at every practice. He was safe. I did not know if I would win my battle with Evil Taylor. Hunterman and Harper the Killer slashed at each other with their fucking knives and cut at each other and stabbed at each other 1,000 times each and were still alive even though there was so much blood all around. Hunterman had one eye missing and threw a band member in the way of Harper the Killer as she lunged forward, fucking knife held ready to fucking kill Hunterman. The fucking knife cut the band member in half, and Harper the Killer jumped ahead even as she fell on Hunterman's fucking knife and she was stabbed through the heart. But she was still alive because her heart was beating too fast to be killed. She stabbed out Hunterman's other eye and said,
"That's right, bitch. I'm Harper the Killer."
And Hunterman went,
"Wow. You're gonna die for that if you don't collect my sheet music."
But Harper the Killer was 56 steps ahead of Hunterman, for she held up 8 pieces of sheet music, all detailed as different songs the Northern Michigan University Marching Band played. There was Bomb Bomb and Hand Jive / Time Warp and Born to Be Wild and Love Me Tender / Hound Dog and Dancing Queen / Mamma Mia and March Grandiosa and Always Look on the Bright Side of Life and of course finally Jesus Christ.
Jesus Christ.
Hunterman went so pale, the blood was like white too, just like his skin. Now his face was eyeless, and he was more like Eyeless Jack than Slender Man, so he said,
"I am not Hunter Man anymore. I am Eyeless Hunter."
And grinned wide and said,
"Those pages do not matter anymore, Harper the Killer."
But at that moment I bustled through because of my battle with, Evil Taylor, and we were fighting. Jack in the Tree said,
"Thank God I'm not in that fight, and my eyes weren't ripped out, or I would have become some kind of eyeless Jack."
Evil Taylor was cutting at me with his fucking knife in a flurry of blows, but I just stepped back, and he kept coming forward, and I kept stepping back until we were right next to Adam and Griffin Grava, the morally ambiguous section leader, and Griffin, because he did not want Evil Taylor to attack, he pushed Adam in the way of Evil Taylor's flurry of fucking knife, and Adam Schnell was ripped to ribbons by Evil Taylor's fucking knife.
Ripped to ribbons.
But Evil Taylor wasn't done, and he set Adam's shredded corpse on fire. He was now molten Adam. Griffin Grava in that moment had shattered his moral ambiguity. He had become too high, so he became Shattered Griffin. Jack in the Tree said,
Man, I'm glad I'm not morally ambiguous, or I would have become some kind of Shattered Jack, but there's only Shattered Griffin.
Down there is Shattered Griffin. Shattered Griffin. Shattered Griffin. Shattered Griffin wept shattered tears and said,
One bloody day. That's all it takes.
And Jack in the Tree said,
Shattered Griffin, I agree with you, one bloody day.
And the name of the chapter is now changed to Chapter 4, One Bloody Day. And now I fought all the harder because me and Adam Schnell had been friends, good friends, even though we were opposite majors. I was a stupid fucking STEM major, and Adam was a stupid fucking English major. And now he was dead, torn to ribbons by Evil Taylor's fucking knife. I punched the fucking knife, and it wobbled, and the metal almost broke, but it didn't, and Evil Taylor cut at me, and the fucking knife cut a gash into my arm, but I didn't care. I slapped Evil Taylor across the face and said, "Get slapped, bitch." Bitch slap. I like that. And the term bitch slap was crafted expertly by me.
You just sounded so proud of yourself.
Thank you, I tried. Evil Taylor hated it and stabbed me again in the stomach 50 times, but I just shrugged it off and took Evil Taylor by the shoulders and headbutted him with my head in the head.
Stop these attacks, Golden Cameron!
Evil Taylor roared, and I didn't care. I slapped the fucking knife away, and it thudded into the turf of the Superior Dome because our battle had taken us through the Superior Dome, and the fucking knife lay where it belonged. Evil Taylor started backing away, looked scared, but then he smiled with all his 87 teeth and said,
They're right behind you, aren't they?
And turned, and all of a sudden, Isla's Hunter and Harper the Killer were behind me, angry for interrupting their battle. They both lunged at me with their fucking knives, and I jumped up high into the Superior Dome, and Evil Taylor got away pulling his fucking knife out of the turf, but he got away. I was too distracted with Isla's Hunter and Harper the Killer. Meanwhile, Shattered Griffin was making his shattered way to the Superior Dome. Jack in the Tree coming up behind him. They talked. Meanwhile, I used my newly invented bitch slap to send Isla's Hunter across the Superior Dome, scoring a field goal. Field goal! I shouted as I saw him plummet to the fucking crowd, and he said back, "Gah!" Because he wasn't used to being field goaled. Harper the Killer, meanwhile, stabbed me 50 more times in the shoulder, but I shrugged it off and took her fake fucking knife and broke it in two with the single two movements of my hand. Isla's Hunter stabbed me 50 times in the kidney and said,
I'm going to take them.
But I pummeled him in the face with my fists and my feet, pounding him into the turf and taking his eyeless sockets from him. Now he was even more Isla's Hunter. Harper the Killer had leapt on my back, and I threw her away into another field goal and shouted, "Field goal!" That was my special move. Isla's Hunter was finished with me, but I was not finished with him, and I elbow dropped onto his face, and his mouth was caved in, and finally he was fucking dead. Taking his fucking knife, I threw it at the speed of sound +1, and it eviscerated Harper the Killer by smiting a hole right through her stomach. She said,
It's over for you, Golden Cameron. Just wait until I get a thing of bleach.
But I sent my powerful fist and it punched her, and she sailed away, never to be seen again. Surely dead, right? Finally, the battle was over. Evil Taylor had faded into the background, and band practice was over. Shattered Griffin watched on morally ambiguously, and Jack in the Tree sought the shelter of the tree, and I went back to my dorm, but not before Griffin and I talked.
You fought well, Golden Cameron. I'm glad to see you can handle yourself. My moral ambiguity has given me wisdom beyond my years, for I am Shattered Griffin.
Jack in the Tree came back and said,
Yes, Cameron, impressive, but I wouldn't count on Harper the Killer being dead. She kills after all.
And I said back, no, she's dead, and there was nothing else said on the matter of Harper the Killer. Shattered Griffin said,
There are not many of us left now. I don't know what will happen at next practice.
And I replied, well, there might be a bit of playing of the trombone. You know, we are the Northern Michigan University trombone section. And Griffin replied,
That is true. I think it will be practice as usual from here on out.
I certainly hope so.
Me too.
Me too. Griffin wanted to say one last thing and said,
Remember, Cameron, I am Shattered Griffin, morally ambiguous. Never forget that. Remember it.
We all went home, or tree in Jack's case. There were just 4 of us left, me, Golden Cameron, Jack in the Tree, Shattered Griffin, and Evil Taylor. I went back to my dorm and went to bed. Then I woke up and I went to marching band. It was a good practice. I fixed grammar and made gender morally ambiguous. I am morally ambiguous Griffin. He is the best. If you need me to fix it, I can. Keep it for a chapter. It would be funny, I think. However, every the has been replaced with they because it has he in it.
Marquette was a hellscape. What city in 2020-77 wasn't? I cautiously crept along the dimly lit streets, keeping to the oily shadows. Overhead, a patrol jumper zipped and whooped, chasing down some unseen perp, hunted for God knew what reason. The metropole seemed to get more and more bold with each passing month, and I was witnessing it in real time. My name is Cameron Snyder. I play, or used to play, at least, trombone in what remains of the Northern Michigan University Marching Band. That was all before 2020-77. In 2020-76, I was a happy college student. Straight A's, a great group of friends, even a loving socialist girlfriend. And then Metropole swooped in. With rising world tensions, the European Union decided it would be best to just nip everyone's biggest issue in the bud. That issue being America. The president? Assassinated. The stock market? Hacked and tanked. Any kind of defense or law enforcement? Put on permanent leave or redirected to the Middle East. Another issue of the European Union's. With the world's biggest power vacuum in effect, nothing was stopping the EU from snatching poor old America from the jaws of anarchy. First, it was the AI president. Then it was the universal health care and the free public housing for the homeless. At last, the Metropole swooped in on their patrol jumpers. Who needs roads when your everyday patrol vehicle can fly? The final nail in the coffin for any dream of the old America was the replacement of all the American politicians with Metropole talking heads. They told everyone that things were fine. In just a few short months, there'd be a new leader. Many believed, but there were few who were bucking at the coffin lid, even though the nails had already been driven up into the heads. Made up mostly of old law enforcement officials put on permanent leave, a few began assaulting Metropole, burning down public housing, even murdering the talking heads put on everyone's TV screens. Things were scary, and then the heat in the boiling pot was turned up to 10. Those rogue law enforcement officers began murdering innocents. Protest, they said. No one is a true American except us. Thus, Metropole cracked down, and things got worse for everyone. Just because of the anger of a few, all Urians suffered. Oh yeah, we all said goodbye to the title of Americans, as it was swiftly replaced with the term Urian. Not quite European, but sure as hell not American. Being a Urian was a gray zone, meant to leave us without any kind of proper association. Metropole, which had at first seemed like a bastion of proper law enforcement, had turned into the very thing it replaced in just a few short months. The same few months the talking heads had promised would deliver us a new leader. Now, Metropole was releasing new restrictions weekly on us Urians, keeping us stable. A rush of stale air, and another patrol jumper flitted by up above, smelling of ozone and grease. I tucked my .38 Special into a coat pocket, wrenching aside a rustic air filtration device to reveal a narrow crevice, my home for the past few days. Public housing was a death trap. Settling down in an apartment was a death trap, and getting to the point of affording personal security was out of the question. Many were drifters, finding food, water, and shelter where they could. I was one such drifter. The crevice was 5 feet across and 5 feet wide. Perhaps it had been a broom closet, or maybe a small utility room. Now, it was my bedroom, kitchen, and living room all in one. I gripped the air filtration system and pushed it back into place, grunting with effort. No sooner had I done so when the sound of heavy panting and rapid footsteps echoed out through the dead alleyway. Close behind was the alien whooping of a Metropole patrol jumper. A string of words, unintelligible to my uncultured ears, thundered out from the patrol jumper, to which the apparent perp had no response. Instead, they let their gun do the talking, roaring with hellfire that I could only see the outline from behind my shield, the air filtration device. A strange echoing lurch emanated from where I was assumed the patrol jumper to be, and the perps and their guns' twin roaring was cut short with a single concentrated gunshot cracking through the air with a crispness not unlike biting into an apple for the first time. The perp gurgled out a wordless reply, no doubt shot right to the neck. I crept ever so cautiously from the back of my room to the air filtration device, peering out through a crack in the rusty machine. The patrol jumper was idling, red and yellow lights flashing simultaneously to signal an arrest, not a kill. It sat there for a time, unmoving. A scent of ozone filled the air as the large vehicle hovered in place, air propulsors humming loudly. My hand glided silently to the 38 Special, and I did my best to steady my breathing as the cockpit to the patrol jumper slid open. And a figure leapt out, landing solidly on his feet, perhaps 10 feet below. He was a large man, built for combat and dressed for it too. A thick vest covered his barrel-shaped chest, and a thicker overcoat detailing his rank and metropole was draped over that. Almost carelessly, he pulled out his sanctioned firearm, a mech revolver, and put one more bullet in the head of the perp on the ground, hardly even batting an eye. He scanned the perp with a handheld database, no doubt logging it only as an arrest. Then, like he had a third eye, he walked right up to the air filtration system and shoved it aside with one good knock, glowering down at me as he gripped his revolver. The hammer clicked mechanically. I raised my own, an antique snub-nosed 38 Special meant to drive other drifters off more than anything else. 2 bullets in the thing, but I wouldn't let anyone else know that. Our guns aimed at each other's heads. Then we wavered. The both of us. I'd recognize those milky white eyes anywhere.
Griffin?
Been a while, Cameron.
Still working the pole, I see.
Nothing's changed. When you get prescience, there's nowhere else to go but death prevention.
Prevention? Is that what I just saw?
You know what I mean. Prevention in the sense that in order to prevent them, I gotta get paid first. The pole still comes before that.
And so the tally of innocents logged as arrests goes ever upward on your watch, eh?
I didn't come here to get a lecture on morals, Cameron. Griffin lifted his heavy brows, disarming the hammer on his mech revolver as well. It'd be the only show of good faith I'd get. You of all people should know what kind of discussion with me is pointless.
Then why come in the first place, unless you mean to give me a lifetime supply of food vouchers and a safe place to lay my head?
I disarmed my own gun and stuffed it back in my coat pocket. You know damn well why.
More killings?
Griffin gave me a half-ass finger gun. Bingo. The apartment had been ripped to shreds in the most literal sense. The couch cushions, the coffee table, the refrigerator were just as much victims as the corpses in the middle of the room where we're. I sniffed as I scoped the small room out. Clearly drifters, all 3 of them. The smell always gives away a drifter. That the grease and the sweat, but most of all, the hopelessness. A cloying musk that seemed to fill the space. I was well aware of my own budding desperation to stay alive as I spoke.
You sure they didn't just give up?
Griffin snorted. Seeing them holding a weapon?
Point taken.
It was worth a shot at least. Some small poke could hope that this wasn't everything I thought it was. Everything about this bullshit screams the copycat cult. I mean, you've seen just about as much as I have of it over the years. It's all here, save one little thing, Griffin said, stooping to wipe a speck of dust from his otherwise impeccable boots. I waited for him to continue. Slashed to bits, just like the rest of the damn place. Only problem is, whenever I try to catch a glimpse of what happened, I'm just hit with static.
What good's prescience when all it gives you is a dead TV channel?
I grunted back. My thoughts exactly, and that ain't even the best part, Griffin said, before pulling a thick plastic evidence pad from the inside of his coat. Holding it out for me to observe. My eyes widened. Inside sat a single silver sliver of metal. Innocent as could be. I reached out and touched the bag. It was the evil Taylor medal from his fucking knife. That was a killer thing. I took lives. I threw it away from me, shuddering as I felt the chill run up my spine. I'd remember that dull glint anywhere. My stomach rolled like a pot, about to boil. and I rushed to the singular window in the apartment, throwing it open to upend the contents of my already empty stomach. Foul bile spattered out, perhaps 40 feet below, speckling the shattered sidewalk. I coughed, retched, and turned back around to see Griffin calmly pocketing that thick bag. You recognize it then?
No shit, I recognize it. He's back?
Could be. Could be the copycat's cult, tapped into whatever bullshit he found the day of the dome. Could also be someone just found his knife and has taken to killing. Regardless, I can't see, static and all. My mind raced. We hadn't seen him in years at this point. Still one last glance out the window, and there across the street he was, there, standing in the shadow of the light cast down from above like he was a hellish thing come back to haunt me from the past. Evil Taylor was here looking for what he had lost to get the piece of the fucking knife that was left behind. He's here, I said. Yes, he is. I saw him with my morally ambiguous vision, Shattered Griffin said, pulling out his awesome gun. He darted over to the window and loosed a shot aimed at the foul thing's torso. The bullet ripped through the air, whistling as it soared. I could tell the shot would be well wide of its mark, but it seemed Griffin wasn't out of tricks yet. The bullet hummed as it began curving through the air, thudding into Evil Taylor's shoulder with a wet thud. Griffin's eyes flashed, and suddenly the bullet had been ripped out of the other end of a spray of dark blood, glowing faintly in the half light. Evil Taylor grunted, staggering to the side of the impact. The bullet circled Evil Taylor over and over as he regained his balance, zipping his way this and that. Finally, finishing the farce, Griffin snapped his fingers, and the bullet exploded through Evil Taylor's ear, shooting out the other end of his head in a foul shower of dark red. The body slumped to the ground, dead as could be. Damn copycat cult. We're compromised, Griffin said. Already more were making themselves known all up and down the street like individual ants in an anthill. Being ants, doing like Evil Taylor things, but not because they were the copycat cult. I shuddered once again at the feeling Evil Taylor's presence invoked, steeling myself not to lose more stomach acid to such clowns. Drawing my .38 special, I took position at the door. Just as Cameron pulled the trigger on his own revolver once more. Griffin, fuck. We're gonna redo that. Drawing my .38 special, I took position at the door, just as Griffin pulled the trigger on his own revolver once more. No loud crack or bang, just a simple ticking, like clock signaling this next second. Outside, someone wailed in pain. Already I could hear feet pounding up the stairs, voices outside the door, chanting something vile.
I am Evil Taylor. I will kill you with my fucking knife.
The door was flying open by the copycat Evil Taylors, who were not real Evil Taylors, just fake, but still did the same things as the Evil Taylor original with this fucking knife. I did not count, only squeeze the trigger and pull the hammer, and squeeze the trigger and pull the hammer, and squeeze the trigger, but only for 6 shots, because it is a revolver, and hold only the 6 of the bullets. I did, but I did not, I had 2, and the copycat cultist dropped dead in the doorway. I coughed, holding down bile as I looked down at the fresh corpses. Christ, they stunk. I'd hit one in the head with the first of my bullets, and the other was sprawled out on the floor, blood leaking out of his mouth and blooming pool from the second bullet, wedged in his stomach. He was looking at me with a fucking face. I had to look away, grimacing as I slammed the door shut. Griffin was still raining hell on those unfortunate enough to be caught outside. Mech revolver clicking meticulously with each shot fired. I scrambled, searching frantically for something to barricade the door with. There was a polite knock. Then, I rushed to the kitchen, grabbing the closest item I could find, which just so happened to be a rusted-out fork. Another knock. I raced back to the living area, grunting with effort as I hefted the tattered couch in front of the rickety door. One more knock. I began piling furniture, both ruined and whole, atop the couch, making sure nothing could get through. Then, fork brandished, I stood ready at the copycat cultists to break through. A fourth knock, followed by a gruff voice.
Metropole, open up.
Griffin's head snapped around at the voice, eyes glowing white for a moment. Open it, he roared, returning his murderous gaze back down upon the street. I struggled to move the furniture, my pride, my joy, my creation, back, and just took to ripping it away, shouting back,
Kick the door down from your end. Need to see who it is you are.
There was a sharp cracking sound, and the door was splintered in two. Then 3, then countless pieces as the man on the other side hacked his way into the rundown apartment. My eyes widen as I behold who stood before me, none other than Jack Svatora, Jack in the Tree, the only other survivor of Evil Taylor, all those years ago. He gripped a fire axe, age-dulled, edge-spattered with blood and brain from the now-dead cultist laying on the ground outside.
Not exactly Metropole, but you're the closest we're gonna get.
I said, just relieved to see a friendly face. Griffin hadn't turned to look yet. I realized perhaps a moment too late he'd already known who was there. The constant clicking of the mech revolver had ceased, and in its place was a quiet whooshing, growing steadily louder. The stench of ozone filled the apartment, and a moment later, Griffin's patrol jumper was floating just outside the window. I took a step towards it, and like a bolt of lightning from hell, it was killed and crashed down dead.
A fucking knife sat in it, and there was Evil Taylor, who was still alive and knew we were there because of the fucking vision he had with the powers. Shattered Griffin took a morally ambiguous step back, and Jack hefted his axe, and I stood like I was ready to do fight. Evil Taylor leapt from the super spaceship and into the apartment. Griffin groaned as he lost his super shattered vision and could not see what was happening, but he still knew because Evil Taylor said,
I am Evil Taylor. I will kill you with my fucking knife.
And Shattered Griffin said,
I will shatter you morally and ambiguously. Do you hear me, Evil Taylor?
And he shot his fucking gun at Evil Taylor, and the bullet hit and missed and then hit because Griffin used his shattered powers to move the bullet around in a arc. I and Jack had to duck out of the fucking way because of the bullets, and Evil Taylor was hit multiple times, at least 34, but he just laughed and ran at Griffin, but Jack was there too, so Evil Taylor halted.
Jack, you pest! It's about time I ended you.
He said, and reached into his pocket and pulled out a can of weed killer, but not before he picked Jack up and threw him out of the apartment. I knew where to. The body of Jack, still alive, flew through the air and landed in his tree, and Evil Taylor was disappeared, but not for long, and Shattered Griffin grabbed me and used his morally ambiguous powers to teleport us ambiguously. But it was too late. The tree was withered, and Jack was up there too, withered, and his fucking axe had been used to chop down the tree, and it was now a tree-chopping axe with a cool withered handle, and Jack was withered.
Withered Jack,
Griffin said, before Withered Jack grabbed his withered axe and chopped at Evil Taylor. He dodged. The withered power was so powerful, the air withered. I felt myself charging up the golden powers. Meanwhile, Griffin had been stabbed in the chest by Evil Taylor, but was repelling the blood with his morally ambiguous power by sending his injuries to other living people with whom he had deep personal connections with. Morally ambiguous decision. Evil Taylor kept stabbing, and Griffin was running out of people. Soon he would have to rely on me and Withered Jack. Griffin was stabbed, then in a morally ambiguous eye, and his powers flickered, and Evil E. Taylor cut him across the throat. But Withered Jack took the final injury, and he fell just as the axe fell and cut Evil Taylor in half from the head to the sternum. I was ready with my powers, but Shattered Griffin was still alive, and Evil Taylor seemed dead. Withered Jack bled onto the tree, and it bloomed into a blood tree, which brought Harper the Killer from her hiding place at the bottom of Lake Superior. She cut Shattered Griffin, who said,
I did what I had to do.
I was still watching Evil Taylor, who was grabbing the axe and moving it and saying,
Withered Jack, you're withering my powers. Now I'll wither you.
And he dumped the rest of the weed killer on Withered Jack's festering, bubbling corpse until he was nothing but a fetid soup of bloody green viscera. The withered axe was tossed away by the Evil Taylor into the Superior Dome. I noted where the fucking knife was fucking originally in the fucking turf. Meanwhile, Harper the Killer was still attacking Shattered Griffin, but he wouldn't let her stab him because he knew if he was stabbed, the injury would go to me, and I am Golden Cameron.
You killed a friend. Now I will Harper the Kill you, friend.
Shattered Griffin flared with morally ambiguous light, and his fucking gun fired, and Harper the Killer was shot in the head 15 times, but she didn't fucking die, and meanwhile Evil Taylor had gotten up with his split head, and I leapt over to the Superior Dome, wielding the withered axe. Shattered Griffin joined me, and Harper the Killer slashed him across the forehead. His powers activated, and I felt the fucking scratch. But his powers wouldn't work like that anymore. Harper the Killer lunged and cut Shattered Griffin through the neck, and his powers flared, and he seared the morally ambiguous powers into her retinas, and she howled eyeless, just like Eyeless Hunter, but cut his head off. But he also teleported his body up way into the sky, and Harper the Killer fell to the ground and splintered into a fine paste, with Shattered Griffin, who is now shattered on the morally ambiguous ground with hyper-realism and lots of blood. But his head remained. Longest sentence followed by one of the shortest. Okay. In one hand, I had the withered axe, in the other, I had the shattered griffin head, which still held morally ambiguous power. Evil Taylor groaned, and I cut at him with the axe, and the griffin eye flashed, and Evil Taylor was sent off balance, and the axe cut a hand off, but not the one that held the knife. He growled and slashed, but the morally ambiguous power didn't let me get hit, but it still hit, but I also wasn't hurt, because I am Golden Cameron! I swung the axe, and Evil Taylor got chopped in the chest, and he said,
Golden Cameron, you will fucking die!
And I said, not before I do my special move. Field goal! And I kicked him so hard he went through the goalposts of the Superior Dome and he was field goaled. I teleported with the morally ambiguous powers and the axe chopped into Evil Taylor again and again. I stopped, seeing he was dead. The last one, I was alive. Evil Taylor was dead at last to the Scourge. I dropped the axe in the head and said, heh, that was Evil Taylor, wasn't it? And then I died. The injuries. And now I'm writing this as a ghost because I'm dead. I guess the one thing I'd finally say is that never to trust Evil Taylor. He's evil.
Wow.
That was all.